Donald Trump was having a psychotic meltdown all of last night as his war in Iran has taken a turn for the worse, as we are learning that our munition stockpiles are running out. Donald Trump was freaking out last night, and he erratically posted, "The munitions are not running out. We can use them forever. Everybody, we can go to war forever if we want to." Let me show you what he was posting. He was also doing bizarre posts about Richard Nixon and how Nixon wasn't able to destroy the deep state, and that's why he was taken down. But Donald Trump is able to destroy the deep state proactively. Then Donald Trump is making deranged posts about the 2020 election. This is what he's posting all night long. What the hell is going on? Here's what Donald Trump posted, though. He goes, "The United States munition stockpiles have, at the medium and upper medium grade, never been higher or better. As was stated to me today, we have a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully using just these supplies, which are better than other countries' finest arms." Pause there. So you're saying that we should be going to war forever and that we have munitions that never end? We know you're lying about that. What are you talking about? This is at the same time we know that you are moving some of the munitions and the THAAD systems and the Patriot systems from South Korea and from Asia right now to the Middle East. And this is as you are now no longer making good on the deal to give Taiwan $12 to $13 billion in weapons and military aid. But go on. Donald Trump then says, "At the highest end, we have a good supply, but are not where we want to be. Much additional high-grade weaponry is stored for us in outlying countries." In other words, he's going to take the systems from Ukraine and from Asia. That's what he's basically saying right there. Now, if you guess that he's going to now attack Joe Biden in this post because Trump exhibits zero leadership qualities and all he does is blame others, you would be right. He goes, "Sleepy Joe Biden spent all of his time and our country's money giving everything to P.T. Barnum, Zelensky of Ukraine, hundreds of billions of dollars worth. And while he gave so much of the super high end away free, he didn't bother to replace it." So again, pause right there. You do realize right now, probably the only leader in the world with the institutional knowledge how to stop the Shahed drones and ballistic missiles from Iran is Zelensky. Ukraine actually has the expertise in order to be helpful right now to the United States. But Donald Trump is spending his time attacking Zelensky, calling him P.T. Barnum. Hey, Donald, you do realize that the alliance that exists, or you too dense and stupid to realize, is between Iran, Russia, and China? Like, you do realize that? Well, maybe you do, because every one of the actions that you're taking would be a textbook of how you would destroy the United States. What, maybe your tariffs against the world didn't do it, and maybe all of your other attacks against Europe and your threats of invading Greenland and Canada, maybe that didn't do it. So finally, you just said, you know what we're going to do? Let's just do a never-ending war in the Middle East and not explain it at all, and we're going to attack everybody and then see what happens, because that seems to be what we are observing as I read this. Then he goes on to say, "Fortunately, I rebuilt the military in my first term and continue to do so. The United States is stocked and ready to win big. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump." Do you see why this guy bankrupted everything he's touched before? Do you see why he is literally the worst decision maker and the worst possible person for this position that could exist? Also, just some other posts that he was making. I'm not going to belabor these points because I want to focus on important facts to share with you. But Donald Trump saying, "American elections are rigged, stolen, and the laughingstock all over the world. We either have to fix them or we won't have a country any longer." Or Donald Trump says that he purges his enemies before they purge him, unlike Richard Nixon. Then he's posting photos of Phony Willis. Enough. I don't need to share that with you anymore. But anyway, Donald Trump, as all of this is happening, we know that the United States is considering the relocation of air defense systems and other military assets from South Korea and elsewhere into the Middle East because we are running out of munitions. Also, when Marco Rubio held that press conference yesterday and admitted that Israel forced the United States into war with Iran, when Rubio was asked what was imminent about the need to go to war with Iran, and he said, well, we know that Israel was about to attack Iran, and if Israel attacked Iran, Iran would strike the United States. So that's why we struck Iran with Israel, because Israel was going to attack them anyway. That's why it was imminent. Verbatim what Rubio said. But in addition, there were other parts of that press conference I want to highlight about the munitions, where Rubio says one of the big issues America's facing is that Iran is producing over 100 missiles a month, while the United States can only make 6 or 7 interceptors a month. Do you realize he's saying the quiet part out loud? Just listen to what he says here. Play this clip.
They are producing, by some estimates, over 100 of these missiles a month. Compare that to the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built a month. They can build 100 of these a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also have.
And then I, of course, want to share with you one more time what Marco Rubio said, that Israel forced the U.S. into war with Iran. It is a direct quote. Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego responded, "What the F happened to America first?" Listen to what Rubio said for yourself. Play this clip.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
And then you had MAGA Mike Johnson echo this also.
They had to evaluate the threats to the U.S., to our troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond. And they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets. We have troops in harm's way, and we have many Americans in the region, and that was of a great concern.
Now, we're learning some additional details as well. CBS and others have reported about the 6 soldiers who we know died. That number is likely to climb. And the amount of seriously injured and wounded is about to climb. But these 6 troops that are confirmed dead were from that port in Kuwait, and they were in this kind of makeshift trailer area, and there really wasn't any incoming warning systems, did not work on time. The people who were in this makeshift area in Kuwait had actually recommended that this not be used because there were so many soldiers next to each other. It was very susceptible to drone attacks. And so there was lots of complaints about this kind of makeshift tactical operations center in these trailers and how vulnerable they were. But of course they were ignored by Pete Hegseth because he's too busy talking about the warrior ethos. This isn't a regime change, but the regime sure changed. Whatever the hell he was saying yesterday. The United States also doesn't really have any backup other than the U.S. and Israel going it alone. I mean, in France, you have President Emmanuel Macron saying, "We ain't sending our Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier for this. Ain't happening." In the UK, in their parliament, Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed parliament and said, "We will not commit our military to an unlawful war." Here, listen to what Keir Starmer says. Here, play this clip.
Exposing our military personnel to action that risks their lives making sure that it is lawful before we ask them to do that. I think that is the duty of the Prime Ministers, and previous Prime Ministers have taken exactly the same approach. I will, of course, read the Shadow Attorney's advice, but I'm very clear in the advice that I received, and I will not commit our military personnel to unlawful action. That is not what they would expect and deserve. They are entitled to better than that.
So then Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, went on state regime media here on Fox in order to spread propaganda. And he was like, well, we want you all to know we're the good guys, not the bad guys. We're the good guys. Okay, here, play this clip.
We're fighting here the bad guys. We're the good guys.
And then he said, then Sean Hannity asks him, there are people who say you dragged Donald Trump into this. Ha 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 ha. How could I drag him into this? He's the strongest leader in the world. I don't know. Maybe that's how you drag. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, actually, we never said dragged. Trump went along with it quite willingly. I'm sure Netanyahu wouldn't call Rubio a liar, though. Let's play this clip.
I want to ask you this. You know, there are people that say, well, the Prime Minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one. But I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world. He does what he thinks is right for America. He does also what he thinks is right for future generations. And frankly, we're partners in that effort because I've devoted my life to securing the life of the one and only Jewish state. And believe me, it's been a struggle. I've known the pangs of war. I lost a brother in war and in battle. I myself fought terrorists and was wounded in liberating hostages from a hijacked plane. I held a fellow soldier in my arms when I was 18, and he died in my arms. I know the cost of war, but I know sometimes that war is necessary to protect us from the people who would destroy us. And that's what free societies have to understand.
And then Netanyahu was like, this is not an endless war. This is gateway to peace that we're watching, a gateway to peace. Play it.
And I believe that we can achieve it. The most important thing to understand is that when we work together, President Trump and I, we achieved, in fact, 4 breakthroughs for peace. Brokered by President Trump, working together with me, we brought forward the Abraham Accords, which was 4 peace treaties with 4 Arab countries. And now, working together against Iran, we'll be able to bring many, many more peace treaties. So this is not an endless war. This is a gateway to peace. It's the exact opposite of what people are saying.
Then you have Democratic Senator Warner, who's the Democrats' vice chair, basically the ranking member on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
Let's also be clear. I said before, I've said now, there was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians. There was a threat to Israel. We equate a threat to Israel as the equivalent of an imminent threat to the United States, then we are in uncharted territory. We have seen the goals for this operation change now, I believe, 4 or 5 times.
And by the way, do y'all remember, and Senator Warner posted this, back last June when Donald Trump and the Trump regime posted, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated and suggestions otherwise are fake news. So you say you totally obliterated their nuclear arsenals last June. And so now what? We did it because Israel was going to invade Iran. So we had to do it because if Iran responded to Israel, American interests would get attacked. Again, isn't the United States supposed to be a world power? So we just get bullied around like that? Or like that's the explanation? And then I saw this one account say, this Philip Proudfoot account say, LMAO, This is the perfect end of the American empire. With yesterday, and I'm only going to play a short clip of it, Melania addressing the United Nations. Did you see where she did this? The United States put her in front of the United Nations yesterday with everything that's going on. Let's play it.
Good afternoon. The 10,113 meeting of the Security Council is called to order.
Finally, I will give a hat tip to CNN on this, where they put a montage of the conflicting statements from Donald Trump on the war. Let's play this clip right here.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. This was our last best chance to strike. We more and more are not wanting to be the policemen of the world. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat. She would get us into World War III. They're drafting you to go and fight in some country that I've never heard. We may have casualties. That often happens in war. Sadly, there will likely be more.
And then on state regime media, Sean Hannity brought on Steve Witkoff, the real estate guy who was like the chief negotiator, who was doing the negotiating. I'm not sure why this guy's negotiating everything. Like, he's like literally the worst, but he was Donald Trump's real estate buddy. And he said, and Sean Hannity's like, imagine you built great golf courses. Iran wasn't in awe of the great golf courses you built. Here, play this clip.
They were proud of it. They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
What I wouldn't do to be a fly on the wall in that room, because Steve, you're a negotiator. You've run the most successful businesses, built some of the most beautiful golf courses. It defies all logic and reason for them to sit there as if Midnight Hammer never happened and dictate to you that the one thing that President Trump insisted on, they can't get a nuclear weapon. They're going to go forward anyway. How stupid are they? Were they? They're done. They're gone now.
Well, it was pretty silly, but they thought they could strong arm us. You know, President Trump sent me and Jared there to really determine on his behalf whether they were serious about doing a deal that addressed his objectives, which are elimination of their missile program, elimination of their advocacy and support for proxies, which is destabilizing the entire Middle East, elimination of their Navy so we can have freedom of the seas and not be threatened with the shutdown of the Gulf of Hormuz. And finally, no nuclear enrichment that can get them to weapons grade, which means no nuclear bomb. And we went in there and tried to make a fair deal with them. And it was very, very clear that it was going to be impossible, probably by the end of the second meeting. But we then went back for the third meeting just to give it the last college try. And of course, they thought they wanted us to report positivity. It was not positive, that meeting.
So bizarre. Anyway, everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you all for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.